Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be answering a viewer question about a video I did a couple of months ago. Before I dive into it, I want to remind you to click like on the video if you enjoy the content, and also subscribe to the channel, ring the bell when you do, so you can be aware of when new content comes available. I'm doing some both IT and music content as of late, kind of trading off an IT video followed by a video right now of doing some saxophone performance. So make sure you do subscribe and ring that bell so you can be aware of when new content comes out. I want to thank returning subscribers to watching the video, and also feel free to leave a comment and share with others if you think it'll be useful for you. So I want to thank viewer Alex Liu for asking this question. The question that Alex asked came from a video about resetting the root password in FreePBX, which is actually very similar to a video that I made for RHCSA exam practice. And what Alex wrote was, "Hello Eddie, I have one question about resetting root password. What I learned from some books about RHCSA, when we reset the password, we need to use rd.break equals enforcing, not just rd.break. What's the behavior without enforcing, or just the same?" So when I was doing a bit of research for this, a lot of the things that I saw, rather than having rd.break equals enforcing, you would have rd.break space enforcing equals either 0 or 1. And as I suspected, it deals with SE Linux, and so I did some experiments with it and found that for me, setting enforcing to 0, which would disable SE Linux, ended up actually causing some problems. So I want to take a couple of minutes and walk through what I did to test that. Now, your mileage may vary with this, but this is what I found from my own experience. So I'm going to log in to my CentOS 8 VM here, and so I'm logged in, no problems. All right, so I'm going to reset this, and we're going to do, one thing I do want to show is get enforce. So SE Linux is enforcing on this system. So what I'm going to do is force a reset. Yep, we want to force this reset, and I'm going to try just rd.break equals enforcing. And this, as I said, when I was doing my research, I didn't see any that was just rd.break equals enforcing. It was usually rd.break space enforcing equals something. But just to try this, I'm curious. Let's see what happens here. So I'm going to do Control X, and let's see if that goes into the initram FS. Let's take just a moment here. This VM is relatively fast. All right, so that did not go into initram FS. So just to make sure I didn't fat finger it, let's do this one more time. So the end of the Linux line, rd.break equals enforcing. All right, so that did not go into initram FS. So I think what Alex meant for this is having that rd.break space enforcing equals a number. So let's do this one more time. This is why I saw some others talking about online as well, and it makes sense, because like rd.break would be the command, and then enforcing would be another parameter. So if I were to do rd.break then enforcing equals 0, so I'm going to do Control X. We'll do all the normal procedures of remounting sysroot, all that good stuff. So mount -o remount RW sysroot, change root into it, pass WD root, and I'm going to make it be monkey123. All right. Now I'm not going to do anything with the auto relabel file. We're just going to leave it at this and see if what I think is going to happen, which is basically it's going to make SELinux not be enforcing, and so therefore the issue that having the auto relabel file solves isn't going to be an issue, because there's no SELinux to deal with. All right, this will take just a minute or so to reboot. While this is rebooting, everything that I'm doing here, I did also test with CentOS 7 and got the same results for it. So if I were to log in as root, and let's try monkey123, I'm in, and if I were to do get enforce, we see that SELinux is set to permissive, so I'm in. However, there was a problem. In my test, when I would reboot, SELinux would be back to enforcing, and I wouldn't be able to log in with either the new password or the old password. So we're going to reboot here and see if that still holds true. So let's do reboot. So SELinux should be enforcing now, because that making that change at boot time with the grub commands is not going to be a permanent change. And let's do root. We'll try monkey123 first. So I mentioned in one of my other videos, if any of you watching this knows how to somehow have OBS like have on the screen capturing your what you type as you do it, that would be awesome for things like this, to where I can be 100% sure I'm, or rather, I can show you, the viewer, that I actually am typing what I say that I type. So if you're a master of OBS and can do that, please leave a comment. I would love to learn how to do that. Anyway, so monkey123, and it complains that the login is incorrect. So let's try it one more time. I'm going to type it real slow, MONKEY, all lowercase, 123. And I still can't get in. All right, so let's try the old password, which doing one video after another. The old password was Nagato, one of my favorite characters from the Naruto series, NAGATO, and that's not working either. So while doing enforcing 0 does prevent at that time needing to do the auto relabel, it seems like it breaks that going forward because of how SELinux is now treating that the SEShadow file that now has its context messed up. So the next thing I want to try with this, and let's do yes here. This time we're going to do rd.break enforcing still equals 0. We're going to auto relabel at the end and see if that makes a difference. This, honestly, I actually did not try prior to this video, so we're testing it live. I didn't think about doing this prior to that. So same routine: mount o remount rw sysroot. I spelled that correctly. Change root, pass wd root, and this time let's do the password as Fedora, even though this is a Pop! OS instance I have here. Right now I'm going to touch auto relabel, exit, exit. All right, so this is starting the auto relabel, which makes sense. And it says it will take a very long time. For this VM, it usually takes about 20-30 seconds, something like that. And we're back. Took a little longer than I expected, so I decided to edit out the silence so that we don't have the opportunity to sit there and watch it be stuck on something with rebooting. So root, we'll do our new password, Fedora, and we're in, and let us get enforce. This should be it's enforcing again. So I guess doing that auto relabel maybe overwrote. Well, RD break and then enforcing equals 0. Either way, if I were to reboot, this reboot should be relatively quick because it's not having to touch anything. Of course, famous last word, should in IT, right? I think it'll take just another few seconds or so. Yep. And let's try Fedora, and we're in. So the second part of Alex's question was, make sure I have this up here. What is the default behavior without enforcing, or is just the same? So I believe, and we'll test this. If I were to set enforcing equals 1, then that's going to be the same as not having it at all. Perhaps if you have your system set by default to not be enforcing SE Linux and be in permissive mode, then doing enforcing equals 1 will force that to happen. But let's put it to the test and see what happens. So we know enforcing equals 0 alone, or at least my tests I've been able to replicate, tends to cause problems on a system that normally has SE Linux enforced. Enforcing equals 1. And we also saw earlier that just RD break enforcing doesn't quite seem to give the intended result. All right, so we're here. And then go through the motions, melt O, remelt. I can spell remelt, read write, sysroot, change root into that. And we'll do Ubuntu this time, UBUNTU. All right, touch. Since I'm fairly certain we're telling this to enforce, we definitely need to relabel that. And exit the change root, exit init ramfs. And considering how much time this took the last time, I'll pause the video and we'll be back when everything's booted up. All right, and we're back. So let's see if we can log in. Ubuntu, and we're in. Life is good. Let's reboot. Make sure that that persists. All right, root, Ubuntu. That should be enforcing. All right, so what we found in this, and again, this replicates with the one exception of a scenario that I had not thought about. This replicates what I was able to test. The enforcing parameter deals with SE Linux, and if you choose to do enforcing equals 0 but don't auto relabel, then it's basically going to break. However, as I think about this, let me go to etc Linux and I config. By the way, if you've watched any of my my R8CSA videos, and I'll have a link in the upper right about that. One thing, if you're studying for this exam, and not just Alex, but anyone studying for the exam, I have found doing what we're doing right now, which is poking around with things and trying some things, I've found that I tend to learn a bit more that way, and a lot of times the content will like stick in my head far better, even though I'm interested about all of it and trying to learn. But there's something about diving into your own thing, you tend to retain the knowledge a bit longer. So what I'm going to do here is change this by default to permissive instead of just disable. I'm going to do permissive. And what I wonder is if setting that to permissive will allow you to do enforcing equals 0, which is permissive, and do the password reset without relabeling and it doesn't break. So let's put that to the test. So reboot rd.break enforcing equals 0. Another little tip for the RHCSA, how do I know how to do this? Well, how many times in this video have I reset a root password? You know, teaching is repeating, right? So we'll mount o remount rw sysroot change root sysroot passwd root, and this time we'll do mint. Not going to do the auto relabel. Let's see what happens. Again, I will stop the video and start it back once the reboot is done. Or actually, I don't have to do that because we're not auto relabeling. So you saw my little cursor there. All right, so root, what did I say, mint. We're in, get enforce, should be permissive, it is. Let's reboot and see if we can still get in, and I bet we can. Because even though there will be an SE Linux violation, being in permissive mode is going to allow the action and just note the violation. So root mint, just fat fingered mint, can't believe that. MINT, yep, and we're in. So that was the thing. I'm sure there is a SE Linux violation, but being in permissive mode by default will still allow the password reset to happen. One other thing that I did find in my research was an option for auto relabel equals. I'm not sure if that option is deprecated or not, but for the last example, we're going to try that. So I'm going to go back to SE Linux config. We're going to set this back to enforcing. All right, we're going to reboot. And so we're going to do good old rd.break. And this time auto relabel equals 1. So I believe this will do the same as touching the auto relabel file. Well, let's see. And again, we will do the motions. Mount, O remount, RW, sysroot, and then change root to sysroot. Running out of ideas. We've done Fedora, Ubuntu, Mint. Let's do Arch. Not going to auto relabel, or rather, I'm not going to put the .auto relabel file. Let's see what happens. Yep, so at least for CentOS 8 that's valid. I'd have to check some documentation to see if it's truly still a valid thing, just like you know how you have the if config commands and such. They still exist, but they're considered deprecated for the IP route stuff. But just curious that works. And so I'm going to pause one more time, let it boot up, and then we'll confirm that we can log in as root. All right, one more test, root, and I'm going to say Arch, and we're in. Let's reboot just to make 100% sure, even though I'm sure it's going to be, but like a little bit of insurance, so to speak. Just another moment or so. Root arch. Wait, misspelled arch. I'm getting tired. And we're in. So I think we've about tested as much as you can test with changing the root password. So to Alex, hopefully this answers your question as far as the enforcing. If you do nothing and your system is already enforcing SE Linux, then just good old RD break is fine. Otherwise, you can use enforcing equals 1 and 0 to manipulate SE Linux, but from as the test showed, if you choose to make SE Linux permissive, that will allow the password reset, but upon reboot, you're going to run into an issue because of stuff being labeled wrong for SE Linux, unless you are at permissive and obviously disabled as far as your default SE Linux configuration. So to Alex, I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for asking your question. The teacher in me from my band directing days will never die, and I love being able to answer questions. To everyone else, feel free to leave questions in the comments, or leave a comment about a topic that you'd like me to cover, because obviously I make the content for YouTube for my viewers, so I want to make some content that would be relevant to you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you click like. As always, subscribe, ring the bell when you do so you can know when new things are coming. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I will see you the next time.